Good morning and welcome to our worship. It's my pleasure to be with you all once again and to share your service with you. The theme of today's service is simplicity, and I'll start by telling you about a fairly recent experience of ours which fits in well with this. On Friday, we drove here via Silverdale on the Lancashire-Cumbria border, a village we know well, having spent a great deal of holiday time there and in its surrounding area over many years. It is one of the most important places we visit, purely and simply because it offers us, consistently, periods of peace, quiet and tranquility. It's a place where we can walk as much as we choose, admiring the countryside. It's a place where we can walk, where we can talk as much or as little as we wish, where we can relax and live very much in the moment. For whatever length of time we are there, we feel comfortable, welcome and at home, and we know that others feel exactly the same. The atmosphere is wonderful, and we've never been disappointed by what's on offer. We can tap into the small community, aware that we will always be received with pleasantness and politeness, and we appreciate every moment of our visits. Before I proceed any further, I'd like to thank Diana for her help as I prepared this service, and also Louise and Dave for their contributions. Everybody is welcome this morning, and especially those who have joined us on Zoom. Now, I'd like to explain a little more about this service, how it came into being, and how it developed. Early in 2020, I received a magazine from the Midland Union Association, one of our districts, which operates in and around Birmingham and includes 12 congregations in all. Churches such as Cheltenham, Evesham, Northampton and Shrewsbury. Its minister is the Reverend Sue Woolley, the current General Assembly President. The issue contained a request for articles on the theme of simplicity, and I thought I should try to contribute one. Following a holiday in October 2019 in Lanzarote, I wrote my piece, which duly appeared in the winter 2020 issue of MU Now, along with 3 more articles on the same theme. Sadly, our 2019 holiday to Lanzarote was the last we were able to make, but we are booked to fly out on November 20th this year, and we're keeping our fingers very firmly crossed. My writing, as you'll hear, forms part of today's address, and today's reading contains some of the ideas expressed by the other contributors, which I've shaped into an appropriate length piece. And of course, I've selected hymns and prayers which endorse the theme. This includes today's chalice words. So now I'll light our chalice and offer that reading. It's the poem Leisure by William Henry Davies. What is this life, if, full of care, we have no time to stand and stare? No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep or cows. No time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. No time to see in broad daylight, streams full of stars like skies at night. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet how they can dance. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare. And let us enter into a time of prayer. Go forth in simplicity, find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people. In a world ravaged by violence, by hatred, by conflicts that seem eternal and insoluble, sometimes the only thing we can do is to be still for a moment, to remind ourselves what is real. The sun that rose this morning, the dirt under our feet, the air whispering in and out of our lungs. For this hour, try just to be present in each moment as it unfolds. Your simple attention is what makes these moments holy. Amen. Our first reading, which I've called Story for All, is entitled 1000 Ideas, One Idea. The preamble to it says, often we fall into the trap of thinking that more is better, not only in terms of material objects, but also in terms of ideas. This Russian folktale suggests that focusing with clarity on a single plan can have a better result than trifling with thousands of ideas. And here's the story. A peasant farmer decided to set a trap in order to capture an animal. He dug a large hole along the path and covered it over with sticks and leaves. In the middle of the night, a fox trotted along the path and stepped on the sticks covering the hole. He fell straight down into it and was frantic. The fox paced back and forth and talked to himself as he strategized an escape plan. I've got an idea. Here's another idea. Oh, or maybe I could do this. So it went for a while until it was almost dawn and he was interrupted. A crane who had been gracefully striding along the path had also stepped on the trap and with a crash and a thump had also fallen into the hole. Naturally, the crane was unhappy, but she was glad to be taller than the fox and to have a very long bill. She moved into one corner of the hole and began to peck the ground. The fox resumed his frantic pacing. Back and forth and back he went. By now he was bragging. I've got thousands of ideas, thousands. The crane stared for a moment, then said, I've only got one idea. She resumed pecking the ground. Now it was the fox's turn to stare. He thought, what a stupid crane. Only one idea? Does she think she can dig her way out of trouble by pecking and pecking in the ground? How ridiculous. The sun rose higher in the sky. The animals heard the peasant return to the trap. Before he had removed the brush from above them, the fox began to race faster and faster all around the hole. The crane barely moved. Her body slumped down into the hole she had dug. Her head was twisted to one side of her body and her legs stretched stiffly into the air. She looked as though she had died of fright. When the peasant was able to see down into the hole, he roared, "You nasty fox, you've been eating my bird." He grabbed the crane's legs and pulled her out of the hole, scolding the fox all the more when he realized that the bird was still warm. The fox continued to race about, not sure which of his 1,000 ideas was put into action. While the peasant busied himself with trying to capture the fox, the crane stood up on her very long legs. She implemented her one idea by spreading her wings and flying off to safety. The fox and his 1,000 ideas made an outcome that was far less happy, at least for him. On the other hand, the peasant was pleased to have a much warmer collar on his winter coat. This reading consists of an amalgamation of 3 articles, each on the subject of simplicity. I've edited them into one to show various preoccupations, and as you'll realise, views sometimes conflict, but this doesn't make them any the less valid. Simplicity differs from individual to individual. For example, one writer is grateful for the simplicity of her computer, which makes her life easier. The ease of composing an email suits her much better than having to find writing paper, a pen that works, and someone to buy stamps and post a letter for her now that she is housebound. But another writer confesses that anything concerned with computers fills him with apprehension and anxiety. The information supplied by way of instructions is complicated, and his reaction to his negative feelings is to reject electronic devices altogether. I have to say that especially when problems arise, I feel exactly the same. Technology moves much faster than I do, and my heart sinks when I'm told that anything technical or scientific is simple. A third writer is very conversant with computers and the like, and uses Kindle rather than actual books for all her reading these days in order to save paper and trees. She favours any simplicity which supports and improves our global environment. Simplifying household tasks is popular. Mod cons make life a great deal easier. Using a duvet rather than sheets and blankets on beds is quick and simple. Cooking with ready-made meals reduces preparation time. Fewer ingredients needing to be bought means less shopping. And microwavable meals, which don't require pans, are much quicker to cook and create a great deal less mess to clear away afterwards. Modern fibres and materials reduce the need for ironing, which saves time and energy, our own as well as that of our fuel costs. One of the articles I read dealt with the comparative ease of shopping nowadays, compared with the old-style grocer shops of the 1950s and 1960s. Selecting goods from a supermarket shelf these days is simplicity itself. The writer comments, "How simple it is to buy butter today. I remember accompanying my mother 85 or more years ago when she bought butter. What a business it was and how much time was involved. The grocer took a couple of paddles to the butter barrel, extracted a chunk of butter, patted it into shape, weighed it, wrapped it, and presented it to my mother with a flourish." However, he acknowledges that the various processes required by supermarket chains to bring goods to shelves is much more complicated. Items must be processed and transported, packed, unpacked, and priced before their final destinations are reached. Much less simple and more protracted than the original farm-to-shop natural process of bygone days. Do we yearn for these, I wonder? This writer also refers to cooking. Recipes, he says, look simple until I find that I'm short of a vital ingredient. But there's one meal that I can microwave simply, and I like the recipe, which takes me through it in easy stages, ending with the final instruction to rest for 5 minutes. But I was quite upset when my wife pointed out that this referred to the food and not to me. One matter on which my three writers agree is that we all need simplicity in our lives, and two of them quote Quaker thoughts. To live simply is a joy. The opposite of simplicity is not complexity, but chaos and the fast pace of our life. The fast pace of our life can become dehumanizing. Life today is full of problems: war, homelessness, political issues, people in all sorts of need everywhere. On our own, there is little that we can do to resolve the situation, but we can pray, and as Unitarians, we can allow our faith to sustain us. The words Jesus brought to us were the epitome of simplicity: to love God or whatever motive power we believe in, to obey his commandments, to love and forgive our fellow human beings, and to refrain from judging so that we ourselves are not judged. Let us take to heart three very simple words faith, hope, and love. And one of the three writers, Barbara Russell, also produced a poem which she calls What Is This Life? And she thanks W.H. Davies for the inspiration. It was written during lockdown conditions, which explains some of the references. Excuse me. What is this life, if full of care? We have no time to say a prayer. No time to thank the Lord above for family and friends we love. Not a word of gratitude for the unknown multitude that take our bins and bring our mail and see our lighting does not fail. Far too many to make mention, yet we'd all miss their attention. Not grateful for those gadgets which obey us at a touch of switch, for warmth and shelter, food and drink, hot water at the kitchen sink, for every gift and blessing, Lord, for all your love and care afford. Let us enter once again into the time of prayer, and I'll end that with a very short period of meditation. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They are vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there will be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your career, however humble. It is a real possession. In the changing fortunes of time, exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, it is as the grass. Take kindly to the counsel of the years gracefully, surrendering the things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in a sudden misfortune, but do not distress yourself with imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. And whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, whatever you conceive him to be, and whatever your labours and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life. Keep peace with your soul, with all its sham and drudgery and broken dreams. This is still a beautiful world. Be careful. Strive to be happy. Let us enter into a brief time of silence and stillness as we give thought to how each one of us can keep peace with our souls in this complex world of ours. As I mentioned before, Roger and I try to visit Lanzarote every year, usually in the late autumn. At that period, the weather is pretty stable, with temperatures reminiscent of a hot summer day in the UK. Flowers of all colours blossom everywhere: hibiscus, poinsettias, geraniums, bougainvillea, and birds of paradise, all growing wild as well as in carefully tended gardens. As far as we are concerned, this is as close to heaven as we're ever likely to come. More than these conditions, however, much of the perfection we find is associated with the simplicity of the lifestyle we choose to adopt when we visit our island. Usually, we spend our holidays visiting stately homes, gardens, churches, and towns. We keep busy as we pursue our schedule for the day. In Lanzarote, by contrast, all this goes by the board, quite deliberately. It is our one chance each year to rest and relax, to chill out, to spend time together, to ponder what we've done and what we'd like to do next, and to do absolutely nothing if that's our preference. Tourist pursuits are forgotten. On this holiday, they aren't even on the agenda, and we often listen, quite smugly, to others relating how they've rushed around every day to fit in all sorts of activity before returning home exhausted. We adopt a very simple routine. Meals are taken outdoors mainly and are easy to assemble. Sometimes we eat outside, sometimes in, sampling the local produce, including wine, whenever we can. We walk everywhere, no car hire for us, but we stroll gently, taking in the scenery, discussing the changes that have occurred since we were last there, and contemplating the buildings that remain uncompleted and probably will always remain so. Coffee breaks are frequent and siestas obligatory. Our late afternoon or early evening walk usually includes sitting on some convenient bench, watching the sun go down behind the trees, the mountains, the sea, or the horizon, after which we wander homewards. All is well with our little world, and we feel totally at peace. During Lanzarote holidays, we swim, we walk, we read, we sleep well. It's a very relaxing, health-giving lifestyle. During our last few holidays, we have been aware of a man who belongs to the local community of Costa Teguise, yet is separate from it. On our last holiday, we had the opportunity to speak to him several times and to find out about his situation. Simon is Dutch. He stands at least 6 feet 5 inches tall, with untamed blonde hair. His English is good, his Spanish passable. He travels everywhere on a bike which matches his size, and he carries all his worldly goods with him. He lives in a cave, in a field, in a remote spot. This does not constitute the whole of his life, however, only the winter from the start of October to the end of March. Then he returns to Holland. In Lanzarote, Simon is truly a free spirit. He adheres to no schedule, travelling around the island, speaking to anyone with whom he comes into contact. Nothing is planned, nothing ordered, and he appears to be extremely contented. We envy him his chosen way of life. Which begs the question, if we so admire Simon's way of life, why don't we adopt a similar one? Well, we are conservative people. We like our creature comforts. We have a family at home that we'd miss, and so on. The justifications are endless. Realistically, we're unlikely ever to take a decision to simplify our lives to such a degree. That decision would be too radical for us, but it doesn't preclude a few attempts to change matters a little in order to introduce more simplicity into our lives each day. We could all give thought to what we might do in this direction. Could we spend a little time thinking deeply about what's truly important to us? Would a quiet walk enable us to relax and escape from routine for a short while? Might switching off television, phone and computer one day or evening a week benefit us? Could we devote more quality time to family and friends? The freedom to choose what best suits us is ours alone, but maybe we should all give the question a little consideration. Could we devote more time occasionally to simplicity, shedding the interruptions and irritations that beset us? Could we aim for the heart of the matters, to what is truly important, and emerge more contented and aware than we thought possible? Let's choose mindfulness over mindfulness and see what happens. So this was what I wrote early in 2020 with a few minor adjustments. In the interim, of course, all our lives changed immeasurably in ways we could never have imagined, and COVID's lockdown and isolation requirements allowed us very little choice in the matter. More about this later. A Unitarian friend of mine who has distinct Quaker leanings pointed me in the direction of the Quaker testimonies, which once I had read and thought about them, made me realise how similar many of these beliefs are to my own, and possibly to yours. In 1656, George Fox, who founded the Quakers, wrote his advices and queries, a lengthy list of points which is nowadays divided into 5 testimonies in the UK, or 6 in the USA. In this country, the acronym STEPS is used as a reminder of the central beliefs of simplicity, truth, equality, peace, and sustainability. The American list is very similar, and it too has simplicity as its first item. Its acronym is SPICES: simplicity, peace, integrity, community, equality, and stewardship. George Fox's testimonies consist of a list of 42 points, of which number 41 concerns simplicity, and this states, "Try to live simply. A simple lifestyle, freely chosen, is a source of strength. Do not be persuaded into buying what you do not need or cannot afford. Do you keep yourself informed about the effect your style of living is having on world economy and the environment?" Despite the time interval, George Fox's writing is clear and concise, absolutely simple, and it remains as relevant in this day and age as it was originally. George Fox also mentions several other key ideas: the importance of love and truth in the heart, the necessity of being open to the healing power of God's love, the benefits derivable from setting aside times of quiet in order to seek inward stillness, even amid the activities of daily life, and the usefulness of doubt and questioning, both in our worship and in our personal lives, which may lead us towards spiritual growth. In my article, I mentioned some ideas I had had, which I felt might simplify my life, and I'd like now to elaborate on my attempts during the past 2 or 3 years to do so, and to explore how successful or otherwise I've been. Lockdown, as I said earlier, gave us little choice but to simplify. The rules of our going out and coming in were laid down for all of us, very firmly indeed. In the absence of being able to meet my close family, I turned to the phone, emails, texts, and WhatsApp to keep in touch. And a weekly Zoom meeting with the family was also instigated. I think this was more successful for the adults than for the children. The 8-year-old rarely stood still for long enough to impart his words of wisdom, and the 3-year-old was much more interested in watching herself on the screen than in communicating with anybody else. But despite the drawbacks of Zoom, we were able to see each other and talk briefly, and that made all the difference. It was contact, but not as we'd known it, though. Roger and I made the most of the one period of outdoor exercise we were allowed initially by taking a daily walk, during which we explored our surrounding area in great detail, learning our way round, selecting different paths and tracks, extending our route as well as our knowledge of natural and local history as we went. Our daily walk continues to this day, as we benefit from fresh air, exercise, and the opportunity to talk quietly or think our private thoughts. Our rambles in all weathers and seasons have refreshed us physically and spiritually, and saved both our serenity and our sanity. Later on, it was possible for family members to join us on our walks. Also, whilst we were out, we came to know other people from our area, some better than others, but new acquaintances and friends nevertheless. Indeed, if we do happen to go out separately these days, it isn't usually long before somebody spots the remaining person to inquire anxiously whether he or she is all right. And the assurance is always received with relief. In fact, I was stopped by somebody the other day. I've never seen or heard her before, never spoken to her, but she was very worried about Roger, who was actually at a meeting. Zoom supplied us with worship services and meditation sessions, whilst in-person ones were unavailable, and both became valued additions to our changed lifestyle. Not perfect by any means, but much better than nothing. And our efforts did make us stronger. We appreciated what we had and were able to do, and we could concentrate on living in that moment rather than complaining about what we missed and would have preferred. A new, much simpler lifestyle emerged, a new routine, and we tried to be flexible so that we could actually enjoy our lives. And we thought about the future, what we might do, what changes we might introduce, and why these would be necessary. The one permitted shopping expedition per week brought challenges of its own. I felt obliged to be quicker on my trip to the supermarket than I had been before, and the items I thought I needed were not always available. But I adapted, and although we had some rather odd meals from time to time, we never went hungry, and we remained healthy. I have not returned to my former shopping habits, perhaps I never will, so I think my expenditure in terms of money and goods has reduced. I will admit, though, to buying far too many books. I don't need them, but somehow I can't resist them, and my best intentions are often thwarted. Maybe one of these days I'll look round my library and see empty shelves, but that time, if it ever comes, is not yet, I'm afraid. As regards the environment and global economy, I do try to buy local produce whenever I can, and not to rack up air miles by purchasing too many imported items. I do, however, buy fairly traded goods in an attempt to support the economies of developing countries and to help to improve life for their peoples. Their lives were difficult enough before COVID arrived, and they have not been able to bear the brunt of its effects as relatively easily as we in the UK have done. I recycle as much as I can these days and aim to reduce my use of all goods which damage the planet. We can all play our part in this by recycling paper in order to save trees, or by economising on petrol, electricity and gas, or by reducing our plastic consumption, by using alternatives, and by supporting initiatives designed to eliminate plastic altogether as far as possible. The COVID years have witnessed certain adjustments, certainly in my life, and I can honestly say, without smugness or boasting, that I feel the better for the alterations which have presented themselves. Perhaps I haven't yet reached the degree of simplicity I achieve in Lanzarote, but I have taken significant steps towards doing so. The Quakers' founding principles centre around 4 points: respect for the individual's uniqueness, and belief in the spirituality of life, in the power of silence, and in the value of simplicity. George Fox, in the conclusion to his advices and queries, suggests a lifestyle which we might all endeavour to embrace, and I offer you his words as this address draws to a close. Be patterns, be examples, in all countries, places, islands, nations, wherever you come, that your carriage and life may preach among all sorts of people and to them. Then you will have come to walk cheerfully over the world, answering that which is of God in everyone. Amen. And our closing words. God of the simple life, we withdraw from the noise and confusion of the world around us and seek the stillness at the heart of life. Help us to put aside the many distractions that clamour for our attention, concern with getting and spending rather than listening and reflecting, the accumulation of material goods rather than spiritual insight, the assumption that wealth of possessions will satisfy our needs. Help us to clear away the confusion of our daily lives and to focus on what is truly important, not only for our physical needs, but also for our spiritual welfare. Help us to be satisfied with enough and not always to crave more. May we be grateful for the abundance of good gifts that are available to us, but may we not be wasteful. May we build right relationships with our families, with our neighbours and friends, with you, and with ourselves. Amen.